OpenAI just released a new video generator called Sora 2, and it really opens up the question of just because you can, should you? I'm going to show you a couple of videos. We're going to talk about a couple, Mark, here, and I want you to look at these. Then we're going to discuss how that changes things in terms of should you create video using this technology and when. So, Mark, I'm going to show you a couple of videos that I think is going to be either a game changer or a breaker of what we do, or maybe how companies create video. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but basically it's about the new Sora 2 from OpenAI. And we've crossed another line to where anyone who claims they know what AI video looks like, that just shows their ignorance. I mean, there are AI videos you can look at and know that it's AI, but the ones that are above the bar and the bar has just gotten lower, there's going to be an average of you don't know if it's real or not. So one of my first thoughts was we create, as a business, talking head videos for executives. And we know some of the pushback is the executive doesn't have time, or the executive doesn't feel comfortable on camera, or they don't want to figure out what to say. And I wonder if this may be an excuse for them to say, here, do it in AI of me instead, or it may be a question of what happens to their trust. So we'll talk about that after we watch these videos. So right now I want to play, there's two videos. The first one is of Sam Altman. Let's watch that video and I'll tell you what it's about after you play it.
Please, I really need this for Sora inference. This video is too good.
Okay, so that is seemingly security cam footage of Sam Altman in Target stealing video cards or graphic cards. And the beauty of this video, first of all, let me say it's fake. Obviously, it's fake. The creator of it thought about, okay, OpenAI is probably short on graphics cards or chips that are being, bought from different chip makers around the world. So it brings it down to the actual CEO going to Target to steal some chips. If you look a little bit closer, you might see the word graphics card is spelled a little odd for Target, or if they even carry those in Target. And then you wouldn't have a door right next to the graphics card aisle anyway to leave the store. But what it does is, to the untrained eye, in fact, I won't say untrained, I'll say to the eye that's not paying attention and looking for fake video, that looks totally normal. The things we used to say was, well, fake AI, they look directly at the camera, or the angle's perfect, or it's soft around the edges, or all those things. This is none of that. It's a CCTV, closed circuit TV security camera, and it looks just like that. What are your thoughts on what you see there so far?
Well, a couple of things. One is, obviously there's a few things that are inputs to our senses that affect our judgment if something's real or not. For example, the ambient sound of the store ambience, and the fact that his voice is not fully clear. It sounds like it's from a CCTV camera. The image itself is a little cloudy or diffused, like the low quality of a CCTV camera. So I don't know how much of that was in the actual AI created video, or if it is in post-production, but those things sell. Those things.
That's something that Sora is selling. Sora is selling, just like when VO3 came out, they're selling that it's video creation with audio included.
So I guess my point then would be the attention to those small things, well, not small, but almost subliminal things that have nothing to do with the actual content, but they have to do with the context of the content, really sell it. And I don't want to get off course here, but I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to talk about politics, but there was a political related AI video recently. So realistic in what it did. It took an existing video and then it made it into something else. And that was happening. And what I noticed about it is little things like someone bumps into something and the thing moves when it didn't move in real life. So the algorithm thought it's going to move around, and then it intersects with this object, so that object must move, and it must move in this way, which means it'll reflect light in this way, and all
I'm glad you said
number
that.
of decisions and calculations that are being made for context are staggering.
That's important because that's one of the flaws that AI video has had in the past was physics. Like a basketball, when you throw a basketball towards a hoop, it's supposed to, what do you call it when it speeds up slowly?
Accelerate?
Ease in. It eases in and eases out.
Ease in. Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't just, the velocity isn't the same the whole time because the ball goes up, it comes down, it's faster, it's slower. Old versions of AI, it would just kind of teleport from one place to another. Physics. So physics between things that bounce to things that like water, we've passed that line now. Mm-hmm. So you can't look at that to say if it's AI or not. We way past the memification of it, of, cartoon things being thrown on top of it, like sombreros and things, not to talk about politics, but those things that are obviously added on, like Photoshoppy looking,
right?
Way past that. So now we're past the physics, we're past the lip sync, we're past the perfect film. You mentioned audio. That's, to me, the biggest hurdle, because I noticed, as someone who is in audio and video and understands AI, one thing that always caught my attention was, whether or not it caught the average person's attention, was the audio always sounded studio quality and in your face. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's out at a festival and they're talking at their camera and it's an AI video, their audio was always still perfect. It was the same audio as somebody was sitting in the studio. Didn't have the right room ambience. I know that a gym audio sounds different from a studio audio, from an auditorium, from outdoors. They all sound different. AI is taking into consideration the physics of sound as well.
Not just the physics of sound. You're right about that, but also what other things could be happening in that sound mix contextually. So if you're in a school gymnasium, maybe there's the sound of other people in the gymnasium, their sneakers in the background. Maybe there's cars driving outside the building. It's more and more starting to think about these aspects contextually and add them into the mix, which makes it more and more realistic. I think we'll just keep that improving. And it makes me think about this video I recently saw, this incredible special effects, like has something to do with space or the Earth, nuclear war. I don't remember what it was, but it was a lot of light and explosions or something like that. And it said something like, this is one of the most complicated and accomplished AI generated pieces of film ever done, but every image took thousands of prompts. And I started to think about, where do we leave off in our willingness to perfect and let AI take the rest versus us having to shape it? And where will it start to be that AI starts to think about its own prompts and our prompting becomes easier and more basic, and handing it off to AI to finish the prompting job?
I think there's two ends to that, and I can't wait. I want to get this other video to you too in a moment. And we're going to get to that in a moment too. This video is going to blow your mind. Okay. But there's two ends in what you said. There's what is the technical effort worth to make these changes? Like, are we going to prompt this thing 100 times to get that one clip? Then the other end of that is the consumer. Does the consumer care how it was made? Does the consumer understand how it was made? Do you effectively do what you wanted to do with that media with the consumer not caring or understanding? Or do you even care for the consumer to understand? That's the problem we're going to be having with social media, is that, unfortunately, the majority of people watching social media have no clue of what's going on with the level of AI content. They don't even know. They know it exists, but if they scroll past 10 things and 8 of them are AI, they may tell you 2 of them are. They just don't realize the magnitude of how much content is AI.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that that's just what's available from a consumer standpoint now. That doesn't count what's possible and available only to a limited number of of people who have access to it, or a beta group of testers or whatever that will be in our hands in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is.
That's a great transition. Talking about beta testers. So Sora 2 is in beta right now, and we'll all have it in our hands probably in weeks. Used to, a lot of these things we have that we consider AI now, scientists have had for years. And then it took years to come to commercial level. Now it takes months or weeks to come to commercial level. So Sora 2 is in beta now. And you can get the app right now, but you might not get in unless you have a code for it. Mm-hmm. So my friend Christopher Penn, who's also been a guest on the Business of Marketing podcast of ours, Christopher Penn, one of my favorite data scientists, and I go to him for lots of stuff from SEO to AI. He did this video because he has access to Sora 2, and I want you to see what Chris has done to let us know this is fake. This is absolutely fake. But it makes you think about, well, two things we're going to ask about. One, what does it do to the average person who has no clue how good this is? And then two, we'll talk about our business impact of creating talking head videos for business. So let's roll that video.
Just so we're clear, all of the following videos are completely fake, made by OpenAI's Sora 2 generator. I'm disclosing this so that you know, without any shadow of a doubt, they are fake.
Is AI good or evil?
Generative AI is an amplifier. It takes the good and makes it better. It takes the bad and makes it worse.
Yeah.
It's a fake.
Is AI good or evil?
Generative AI is an amplifier. It takes the good and makes it better. It takes the bad and makes it worse.
It's a fake.
Generative AI is an amplifier. It takes the good and makes it better. It takes the bad and makes it worse.
It's a fake.
AI is an amplifier. It takes the good and makes it better. It takes the bad and makes it worse.
It's a fake.
Generative AI is an amplifier. It takes the good and makes it better. It takes the bad and makes it worse.
It's a fake.
It should be abundantly clear that seeing is not believing. Be careful with what you see and question it. And if you don't know for sure, consider that it might be generated.
Now, I know Chris. I know him personally. I've sat in front of him many, many times. We've had lots of conversations in real life. Mm-hmm. Only the first one was a little questionable as someone who knows him. Any other video, if Chris told me he had been to the UN, United Nations, if Chris told me he had been on the lawn of the White House, or what was the other one that was the World Forum, they were all believable. Hey marketers, imagine harnessing the power of conversations to elevate your brand's authority and visibility. With Content Monsta's podcast production services, you create a platform to connect with executives and subject matter experts, fostering relationships that position your brand as a thought leader. Our expert team collaborates with you to craft engaging podcasts, which can be repurposed into videos and social media content, maximizing your reach across platforms. Don't let content creation challenges hold you back. Partner with Content Monsta to transform your marketing strategy and reach more customers. Visit contentmonsta.com today to get started.
Here's the thing that blew my mind, Lee. It wasn't just the incredible video and the different angles and even being behind him. The delivery of each one of those on his part was different. And I'm going to assume this came all from the same source take. I'm going to assume he didn't do a different delivery for each context setup. So assuming that that's true, if you watch the UN one or the White House one, for example, it's different than the UN one. It has a different sense to it that's appropriate to that context and that environment. And the way you would address a large, and the way he turns between lines, and it changes the timing a little bit. It's very subtle, but I noticed that. And if that's being done by the AI and it was not separate takes, to me, that is whole level game changing of not just that those options and alternative lanes would be available and calculated, it's that AI would be understanding that in this environment, this is the way someone would emotionally deliver to that audience in this context, and therefore the speech and such needs to be changed, which also means to me, aside from business use, the implications on entertainment, especially with this new AI actress that got signed to a talent agency and what that means going forward, the possibilities of being able to create believable performances with the nuances of all you have to do is prompt a performance, and AI is getting closer and closer to being able to execute that in a believable way. Holy cow.
So now let's talk about this in the context of content marketing for business and thought leaders. So it didn't miss me months or years ago when I realized one of the cores of our business is creating talking head videos.
Yeah.
And because we know that executive-led content wins, we know that having your thought leaders, your executives, your technologists, people who are creating the thing or selling the thing that a business does, having them on camera, even customer testimonials, having them talk about their expertise in a space, not selling, but talking about their expertise is very valuable. Now, we also know we have executives who either don't have time or don't want to be on camera. Now, technically, we could say, give us some great photos of you and we'll make this video for you. We'll put you in your favorite office, your favorite space, whatever. We'll write the script for you and let you say it however you want to say it. We can do this technically without the executive in place. My question is, even if you could, what would it do to that executive's credibility?
Well, I think it really depends on the use, in my opinion, because I just thought of a use case that could be really interesting that we could actually test. My first instinct is to say, I think the credibility is going to be based on how widespread that use has become. And if that's an acceptable use, because if you knew that there are many people on social media who record themselves with a podcast microphone looking to the side, pretending that they're on a podcast. And they do it because it catches the attention of people, and there's no one they're talking to. They're just recording themselves. If someone knew that, it could make them think differently about them. So it's really just a matter of, can you tell?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's obvious and you can tell, then the credibility sets in. So it really is a question of believability.
If you're a marketer struggling to create content that's truly unique to your brand, here's the key. Your experts and executives are your most valuable content assets. Conversational content like videos and podcasts featuring your team stand out above all other content. So instead of creating content that sounds just like your competition, start leveraging the unique voices inside your company. Thought leaders and authentic conversations build credibility and engagement. At Content Monsta, we specialize in remote content production, meaning we coach your people to be comfortable on camera, then we capture and produce high-quality videos and podcasts featuring your team and customers. No need for expensive production crews, long production plans, or complex setups. Want to see how it works? Visit contentmonsta.com today to learn more. Let's assume you can't tell. What's the next step?
If you can't tell, then I think it only has to do with whether the situation and the context is believable. So if the person is walking through the corridors of the Star Wars ships as they talk to you, because that was possible to do, you might say, I don't believe that they spent the budget on this. So I don't, obviously that was made in AI or whatever. And then you make whatever decisions you want. That's an extreme example. But let me switch to the other thing I was thinking about, because it may have to do with what you're talking about. So I was thinking about you record a testimonial with a client. The testimonial is amazing. What they had to say is amazing. But their camera or their environment was really not suitable for you wanting to display this, because it just says it didn't have a good webcam, or their lighting's horrible and nothing you could do about it. They self-recorded it maybe. I don't know, whatever reason it is. There's no reason you couldn't sort of re-output that video with the exact thing they really said. Maybe even their real audio and regenerate their video in a way that's very believable. So if you totally believed it and couldn't tell, then that testimonial would be useful for you. But there was any aspect of you that clued you in that it was AI, then the credibility of the testimonial would be injured.
I'm with you on that. In fact, here's my view, my definitive view, and I think I can hold on to this no matter where AI goes.
Okay.
Here's my view on whether or not you can use an AI avatar to represent yourself versus the value of doing it yourself. The difference is what you're stating simply fact, or does it require your personality? So a newscast, a business update, a quarterly report, those are just facts. You don't need the CEO's personality for those things. You need the facts. Now, if the CEO is explaining why they're doing a reduction of staff, or if he's explaining happy holidays or whatever, that requires personality. That should be the real person. To me, that is where the line is drawn. Is personality and heart required in that? Or is it just factual that any avatar or written text could have communicated?
And I think if you establish an understanding between you and your quote audience, that sometimes you're going to see me live and sometimes you're going to see the AI version of them, but they're both extensions to me. And it's similar to, I've often said this to clients, I'm like, because they're worried, let's say, sometimes I might want to record content when I'm in an airport or I'm on the move or I'm in my hotel room. And it's not going to be the same quality as when I'm in my studio or my office. We've got the nice equipment set up. I say, you know what? As long as we have a clear picture and clear sound of you, it doesn't matter as much, because as long as the audience knows that when you're at base camp, there's a certain quality of credibility there with the quality of things. When you're, quote, in the field, it's cool. The same way that an anchor looks different in the studio, you know, at their local TV station, but when they're out on the street with the wind blowing in their hair and people in the background and the camera's kind of shaking, we don't care. Or if someone's being recorded, like you see on the news, you see a correspondent in their home, it looks like Zoom. And you're like, this is CNN or whatever. They don't have the budget to set this person up right, but you don't care, because when you go back to the studio, it looks professional. So my point is that if you have something to ground you in the reality, and then you also put out the other things in a way that isn't like I'm trying to fool you, but this is just my other channel to give you more stuff. And the way I'm doing it is deploying technology. I think people will accept it. It's when you try to fool them and you fail, it backfires.
That's the key. I like how you mentioned trying to fool them, because if you're implying that this is really me, but it's your avatar, that's a fail. You're going to lose trust immediately. But if you establish that my avatar will be delivering the daily report or whatever for the company, but when it's time for holiday things or some kind of message from the CEO, it's really me. And you mentioned the part about the environment. You know, I hate green screens.
Yeah,
we often have clients to say, "Hey, can you give us a fake background?" And we're quick to say, "No, we won't."
And by the way, both of our backgrounds are real.
These are real. I could touch this. I could change the channel on the TV back there. They're real. We hate fake backgrounds because it implies you're hiding something. Now, maybe you are hiding your laundry or your cat or whatever, but that's for the viewer. The viewer is wondering, what is your environment? Where are you really at? And on top of that, I've not seen, on average, for average person, a fake background that looked good yet. Now, I can make a fake background that looks good, but if I do that, it is a green screen that is lit by itself. There are probably 6 lights in this room if I wanted to do that. That's what it takes to do a really, really good fake background. Anything else at a consumer level is going to look like a Zoom background. It doesn't look good. It removes your authenticity. So to bring that back to these AI videos, maybe if you absolutely have to have this perfect environment, maybe that's a use case for the AI version. If again, you're not fooling anybody or trying to fool anybody.
Again, it goes to, I just recently, you're so right about that, Leah. I recently published a LinkedIn post that had to do with a largely AI produced podcast that I do on the side. And I talked about the idea that it could not exist if I didn't have those AI tools, because I would not have the budget or the time to execute it. So the fact that I can use the AI tools makes it possible for this to exist and everything that comes from that. So similarly, I think about an executive, let's say, that's like, look, I'm super busy. I'm always traveling. I barely can get meetings in. You're lucky you get any content from me at all. But while I'm on the plane, I can write out a whole bunch of stuff that I want to share with my audiences. And I'll feed that into AI and I'll put some scripts, some short scripts. And then we can generate an avatar of you saying those things and put that out as content. So literally every day, there's the thought from John Smith of the day, every day. And you have this daily content, if that's something that you want to do, for example. Whereas it would literally be impossible in your schedule or a bad use of your time productively for the company to do what's necessary to create that daily content. But for you, putting that daily content out is part of building your brand and your perception as the perception of you as a thought leader, et cetera, et cetera. And so to me, that would be an example of, even if it looks slightly not authentic, the results are worth the process. The impact is worth I think the amount of credibility you'll get by doing it outweighs the loss of credibility of it being a little less authentic in perception.
I'm picturing, as you say that, let's say, for example, there's a business of employees. And just to give you a visual, let's just say it's a manufacturing plant and there's people who work on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's a company announcement of something that's going to really big change for the company. What is most effective as the employee, or even as a customer, but as an employee in this picture, if the CEO walks in on the floor with us, puts his hard hat on and says, "Hey guys, here's the situation." Even if he's up on the scaffolding talking down to us, he's there, versus sitting out, putting on a screen and he's somewhere on vacation, but he's on the screen announcing this to us. Right? It could be the same message, but being there in person makes a difference. So my current wrap up on this whole AI video thing is, for business, is that there will be cases where it makes sense, as you said, that the message may not have happened otherwise. There may have been no way for the executive to make this video. If that's the case, maybe it makes sense to make the video, because maybe they can't do a weekly, but you want to do a weekly and they can't feasibly do that. In that case, use an AI avatar, explain that you're using an avatar, explain that it's not you, explain when it is you, to set that base you mentioned to what real you looks like. But at the end of the day, the real person showing up as themselves with the flaws of human flaws, environmental flaws, a little bit of imperfection to show that I'm a real person. At the end of the day, the real person showing up is going to win.
You know what? It makes me think about like breakup texts. You don't want to get a breakup by text, even though the information is the same. There's a point of that, like you were talking about, of that human touch, and you can tell the difference, even if the information is the same. Efficiency is not a good enough reason.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up in a bow, Sora 2 is coming out. If you watch this far in the future, there could be a Sora 3, and we're heading to a place where we left Uncanny Valley a year ago. Now we're at a place where we could create anything we can imagine that is believable. But then you have to ask yourself, just because you can, should you?